You're about to learn the difference between what it means to be a freelancer versus an agency, and we'll go a little bit into how you can decide which one's right for you and what different things you need to do to be successful in each, depending on which route you go. So why this matters, why you should even watch this video. Ultimately, deciding ideally early-ish on if you're targeting being a lifestyle freelancer or growing an agency, it's important because it's going to affect how you make certain types of decisions, especially as it pertains to project fulfillment and lead generation, which we talk about in a different business where we talk about the three aspects of a business. So we'll link to it up here somewhere. Did I say a different business? I'm in a different video. Talk about it in a different video. But basically, a given business breaks down into leads, sales, and product/fulfillment/services. Basically, you have to have a thing to sell. That's fulfillment. You have to have people to sell it to. That's leads. And you have to sell it to them. That's sales. Every business needs these three things, but the way that they look for a freelancer and the way they look for an agency is very, very, very different. And I think a lot of people get led astray with prescriptive advice as if it would be the same for everybody when it's not, and it shouldn't be. So today we're going to talk about these two types of businesses and what differentiates them and how you can decide which one you might want to target, and then go into a little bit of the implications for your strategy based on that. So first, basic definition. In my mind, freelancer equals you in charge of fulfillment. Agency equals not you in charge of fulfillment. So if you have a team member who does the thing that you got paid for, that's an agency. If you're the one who does the thing you got paid for, you're a freelancer. There's this spectrum I like to think about of job, business, and this line here. And freelancer is somewhere in the middle. You don't really run a business. And I think a lot of freelancers, certainly past Zach, get into trouble because they think of it like a real business when they don't actually structure like one. But you also you're not working at a job. So it's somewhere in the middle. Basically, I kind of think of freelancing as owning your own job. You get some of the benefits of the job side and you get some of the benefits of the business side. So the biggest differences between where you are on the spectrum has to do with those three parts of a business. So remember, leads, sales, product, or services. When you work at a job, you only do the fulfillment part. You show up, you do whatever the thing is you're employed to do, and then you go home. And even if the job you work is in the sales or leads department, you're still only in charge of fulfillment within that role. Because when I say leads and sales here, I mean the responsibility for generating leads for yourself in order to be able to do fulfillment. So the job equivalent of that, leads and sales, is leads equals find a job posting, sales equals go to job interviews, and then fulfillment equals be employed at your job. So when you're an employee, you only focus on fulfillment. That's the established thing. And then when you're a business, you are focused on all three, and you're usually trying to pay money to get the three things done wherever possible, rather than paying with your time. If you are trying to run a businessy business that you can scale, and every single time you want a new lead, you have to spend X hours. Every single time you want to sell, you have to spend X hours. And every time you want to deliver the thing they bought, you have to spend X hours. You quickly find you have a very, very small bottleneck of how much on each of the three things you can actually do. And frankly, if you were doing that, I would just call you a freelancer. And so that's that big differentiator of you handling the fulfillment and you paying primarily with time. And the reason that I'm going into this is that when you're a freelancer and you are choosing, yes, I want to be a freelancer forever, I'm signing up to be a freelancer, because being a freelancer over a real business, quote, quote, does have advantages. It'll change how you go about things like leads and sales, because you just don't need a lot of leads and you don't need a lot of sales if it's just you as a freelancer. Whereas if you're running an agency with 7 people in charge of fulfillment and you need to pay those 7 people every month, whether or not you get projects, got to make a lot of leads come in. Pretty much every agency I know of anyway, the founder started as a freelancer. Most of us start as freelancers. And whenever we start as a freelancer, pretty much without fail, our biggest first problem is leads. So again, leads, sales, fulfillment. Most freelancers have technical skills to handle fulfillment, and that's not really their problem. Most of the time, their problem is, how do I get clients? So that said, we all start with this bottleneck thing to solve being leads. And we have a different video on here talking about the bottlenecks in all the three spaces, so we'll link up at the top. But once they conquer this bottleneck, which many don't, but supposing you do eventually conquer this bottleneck, and I'm sure if you stick with it and keep learning, you will, Your next bottleneck is going to be fulfillment, because imagine if today I sent you 12 new clients and each one's going to take 40 hours to do their project. You've got a fulfillment problem because you do not have 480 hours just sitting around. You would have to have a backlog. You'd have to be really on it. You'd probably get overwhelmed at some point. It would be hard. So we start with this lead problem, this lead bottleneck, and then we move on to a fulfillment bottleneck. I see this all the time. And it's like each of these are really big growth milestones in the business. And how you handle that bottleneck is going to depend on whether you want to be a freelancer or an agency. If you want to be an agency, you need to find a way to increase your fulfillment capacity. If you want to be a freelancer, you don't. If you want to be a freelancer, all you do is raise your rates, and you keep raising your rates so that you can cap your fulfillment capacity based on how many hours you want to work and just charge more for it. And then you get paid a lot more for your time. Neither is right or wrong. They're just different. So now that you have the definition, it's time to decide if it makes more sense for you to run a freelance business or an agency. Originally, I was going to put it right here in the video, but it's already kind of long. So I decided to chop it into a different video. So I recommend that you watch the next video in this little series, which is the how to decide video. And this is now the definition video. So I'm sorry if this definition video teased as if I was going to help you decide here. I wasn't lying. I was gonna, and now I'm not. I'm sorry. But you can also find that other video on YouTube, so it's no big deal. So we'll link to that one in the description of this one. Maybe we'll put it up top if we remember to do it. And regardless of which route you go, I just want to remind you, if you've seen our other videos, you already know this. The thing that's going to make the biggest impact, regardless of which way you go from here, whether you go freelance or agency, the thing that's going to make the biggest impact for raising your rates and getting more clients is going to be the strength of your offer. That is to say, how valuable your service offering feels when you're describing it to a client. To help with this, we have a free course called Charge What You're Worth. If you haven't taken it yet, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's just a 9-day email course. You can download it at dyf.link/offer. For now, I'd love if you leave a comment below. Let me know. Are you vibing more with agency, vibing more with freelancer? Maybe you don't know yet. Maybe you need to watch the How to Decide video. Leave that comment and then join me in the How to Decide video and we'll help you decide. See ya.